This tutorial video is going to demonstrate how to take a 3D part and a 2D sketch made from that part and translate that to, or export that to Adobe Illustrator to create a laser cut file. The first thing you need to do is create your part or series of parts in an assembly like you see here in your CAD program, and ideally Inventor, because that's what I'm doing here. So I've created this part, or this assembly series of parts, and I have taken the time to make sure everything fits. I've got all my joints right. I've gotten rid of all the interference points and got all the dimensions perfect. This is the beauty of CAD, is you can do all this without actually cutting any material. You can get it perfect before you cut. The next thing I did was I created a drawing. Now this drawing, I went ahead and did all the dimensions and I made it look very nice and pretty. This is what I'm providing to students so that they can recreate this box. But when I want to make this a laser cut file, what I actually need is to remove all the annotations. Every single line that I do not want cut, I need to remove from this. And this is what it's going to look like. It is a bare bones file. The only things here are the actual cuts I want to make on my material. And you simply do that by selecting these things in the browser, the border, the title block, and just simply deleting them. All you're left with then is your shapes. And if you have dimensions, you have to delete those too. Now you should also delete your isometric view if you happen to have one. We just want to see the 2D view. This is exactly what the laser will cut. So it's really important you have just this left. At this point, I'm going to export this as a PDF. Make sure you save it somewhere you can access it. I'm going to put it in my downloads. Save over that one. And now I'm going to open up Adobe Illustrator. Now I've already opened my template here, but I definitely recommend you have a template that's sized and all the settings are prepared for your laser cutter. If you don't have one, I know ULS, they tell you how to do it in their manual, but this is a big time saver and it makes sure you get all the colors right as well. I'm going to go to File, Place here. They call it Place, unlike Import in so many other programs, but it is what it is. Go to my download, select my file, and place it. Now, the one thing to keep in mind is if you change the size or scale right now, you will lose the dimensions that you worked so hard to create. So if you want to keep your dimensions, do not change the size or scale of your drawing. Now, that said, what I am going to need to do is I'm going to need to delete some of these layers here. So let's open up our layers tab. I'm going to expand this all the way. And this is something I figured out after a long time of trying to figure out what was wrong with my files. These boxes here, these paths need to be deleted. So select it, trash can it. Select that one, trash can that one. For some reason, it picks up the edges and it won't let us modify what's inside of those edges. And I think there's one more here. Let's see. Yep, one more. Once I do that, I lose all those boxes kind of locking and containing everything, collapse my layers back down. And now I can play with, modify, and move these shapes that I want to cut out with the laser. First thing I need to do here is make sure these are ungrouped. Sometimes you have to do it a few times. And now, if everything is working correctly, sometimes I have to take the other pointer here, the direct selection tool, instead of just the selection tool. And I want to group just that part together because I don't want to change it, but I do want to move it. Go back to your selection tool and see it's still moving everything. Maybe I missed a group. Looks like it. Okay, hopefully now it works. Let me try that again. Select just that. I'm going to try and group just that together. Go back to my selection tool. Still getting everything. Maybe I missed one of my clipping paths. That will sometimes do it. All right, let's try and ungroup. Okay. What I'm going to try and do is nest all this now. So So what I want to do is I want to take this and get them close together so I don't waste material when I cut. And I can do that individually. Just make sure you grab all the points. The drag box is excellent for that. And I usually like to group these together if it'll let me and not kind of freak out when it does it. Four. Oh, let's see, that's at about. Let me get my ruler over here. I'm gonna put that at about 1.5, or excuse me, 0.8. Too close, 0.9. All right. So I want small gaps. I don't want them touching. So I'm going to move that slightly more. Let's go to just 1 inch and see what happens. That's perfect. Small gaps, minimize waste, but not too close where everything's touching. Same thing here. This is called nesting to minimize your waste material. Actually, a pretty important thing to do if you don't like wasting material. More. All right. And I'm going to need 2 of this guy. So I'm going to Control C, Control V, and there's my second one. Although I don't want it on top of that. So let me move this guy first. Now it's letting me click and drag. Funny how it does that sometimes. Okay, this guy, I'm going to copy this because I need 2. Make sure you flip one over though. So use the flip tool in the properties because you need 1 for each side. If you don't, depending on your material, my material looks different on both sides. So it's going to have one side one color and one side the other, and I don't want to do that. Okay, not that. I want all of it. Oh, wrong tool. Okay, let's grab this tool, kind of get it in there. Now there are slightly more efficient ways to nest this together, but this is just an example. All right, so I've taken what was a much larger piece. I've put all these together. Now the other thing I need to do is these are black lines. Black lines actually in the ULS are generally seen as red, but let's do it right. And let's make these red color. And I'm going to give it a 1,000th stroke width. I can zoom in and make sure everything looks good. I'm going to make sure also I don't have any fill on this, which I do not. So right now, this file is ready to go to the ULS Universal Control Panel, what we call the UCP, and it's ready to cut. And to do that, I'm going to go ahead and save as a PDF. I'm going to put it on my thumb drive and name it something that I can find once I get to the UCP. And at that point, it's ready to cut. That's how you take a part or assembly from Autodesk Inventor and bring it over to Adobe Illustrator. I hope you guys don't spend as much time looking for the answer to this question as I did, because it's really not that hard once somebody shows you. Best of luck. Make cool stuff.